extremely interesting, everything.
Thank
you
you
very much. Welcome again to Madrid. You are in the best foundation by far in Spain.
It's a real honor to be here.
Congratulations again for your book. And it's in Spanish. So
Yes.
Double congratulations.
That's clic, aquí.
And we have it in Spanish, which is great. And then, by the way, big applause for Alex for writing this book in Spanish, please. Which we all appreciate, because always the knowledge is in English, so thank you very much to put it in Spanish.
I mean, I have a lovely publisher in Spain.
We do. And then, congratulations for gathering so many people today when Real Madrid is about to play in 45 minutes.
Yes.
So, congratulations. This is a tremendous success. Congratulations. So, with that said, I'm going to ask you very few direct questions. Okay? Some ones are coming from the public that I'll work on them. So first question, now that you're here, and we would like to pick your brain, Alex, and startups ecosystem, okay? Digital marketing. Give us advice, challenges, risk. How can we grow on an exponential way? Startups that are starting, where should they put their dollars? Where should they invest? What do you think is a reasonable mix across platforms?
Number one thing I'd say is copy. So I think look, if you are that unique figure who is brilliant at marketing and comes up with something new, like the founder of Dollar Shave Club, awesome. Go and do that, that's your differentiation. But if you're someone who's brilliant at building a product, and let's say you've built a better product for the online travel agency space, just copy what Expedia and Booking are doing in online travel agencies for your marketing. You don't have to innovate in every single space. So the first thing I would say for any startup, any small business, go and look at what the people in your field are already doing with online marketing and start from there. Mm-hmm. So that would be my number one piece of advice.
And about what should be the optimal mix across platforms? What do you think, I mean, depending on the industry, that's for sure, but what do you think would be an optimal mix on marketing, on digital marketing?
I do actually think it depends very strongly on the industry. So, you know, it used to be a few years ago, and we have made progress on this, and I'm really proud of it. It used to be I'd be like, look, for travel, just do search. Mm-hmm. Now, Booking.com have said on their earnings call that social media and meta works for them as well as search, so you can do both. But there are certain industries that bias in certain directions. If you were going to do social gaming, you should be 90% social media. And so it's a very hard question to answer on the broad scale. I think category by category it varies. If you're looking apparel, if you're looking gaming, apps, social is a very, very heavy thing. Sure. If you're looking, hey, you're an aggregator, like an online travel agency or a comparison shopper, maybe there you're leaning more into search. And then if you're selling goods on Amazon or on Walmart, you may well be buying more from the retail media network of Amazon and Walmart. And so it really depends exactly where you fit in the mix as to which one you go with.
Absolutely. Okay, then, in order to warm up the audience here, the Gordian knot or the million-dollar question. How do we reduce acquisition cost?
Learn to stop worrying and love the algorithm. So look, for me, my entire personality and my entire job is based on me being smart with data, right? That is my whole job. That's what I did at eBay. That's what I do at Meta. That's my whole job. And so the idea of doing automated app campaigns on Google and on a Meta was like an anachronism to me. I did not want to do it. But I actually found that they outperformed me and outperformed my teams to lean into the automated ad campaigns. And then what happened in terms of our workload is we shifted our workload to iterating more on the data we fed the automated ad campaign, so making sure we fed it data that it couldn't have learnt from anything but us, making sure we tagged up the conversions we wanted, and making sure we fed in enough creative. So I would say, personally, unless you're massively, massively brilliant at this, lean into the automated app campaigns and spend your time on what data do you feed them, how do you properly wire them up into your system, and iterating on and making sure you have plenty of creative that they can rank against.
Absolutely. I'll share a personal experience when I was doing the first stats, I think that the best function that you launched a decade ago, the lookalike, I don't know if you remember, well, that was, I don't know, for the audience, for all those that are working on the marketing, the lookalike was amazing.
Yes.
Because you were able to target the right audience, and the lookalike was, I don't know if right now how this is evolving.
It still works incredibly well.
So I think lookalike, would be potential.
But the key to lookalikes is what data do you feed us?
Exactly, yeah.
Which people are we supposed to try and find you people who look like? Do you give us all of your customers? Do you just give us the 10% most valuable customers? Mm-hmm. Do you have multiple different campaigns or accounts, one of which is the low-value customers, one of which is the high-value customers? There's a load of ways you can go beyond just simple lookalike of customers to get more yield out of that product, but it all comes from clever use of how you feed data to the system and let the system train on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then another game changer, I would say, which is content has been the king for several years.
Yep, content is king.
Content is king, and influencers and everything that is happening around digital media. For the first time in the human being life, we are starting to follow artificial intelligence influencers.
Yep.
So this is a total game changer. So how do you see the future? What is next? AI, content is the king. Is content going to continue to be the king for a long time? What do you think about this?
The glasses are up and I'm...
Because they are recording.
No, it's off. I've turned it off. I have a problem where I'm on stage and I say meta and my glasses wake up 20 times. Clearly, I don't think this is genius. Things are going to split into 3 buckets. Mm-hmm. Bucket number 1 is computer-generated content with no human involved. Bucket number 2 is human creators who are being given superpowers by AI. Mm-hmm. And bucket number 3 is human creators who are very clear this is human-only content, mm-hmm. and by following them, you will be seeing stuff that only a person is creating for people. All 3 are going to exist. The future's here, it's not evenly distributed yet, all 3 currently exist. There is no meaningful segment that I am aware of who is fully engaged with the AI content, apart from something like Maltbook, where it's AIs talking to AIs in a social fashion, which is very interesting. So what I think is going to happen is content is going to remain king. Each of those layers, you're only going to have winners based on the quality of their content. Creativity is going to remain king, but there will be a mix of different kinds of creators with all 3 of those represented. And if you asked for my bet, I would say it will be majority human being, probably the big middle section where people are willing to use computer tools, I mean, like people use Photoshop today, will be the biggest single section, but there will be a meaningful dose of both of the other 2.
I agree, except that in a couple of years, I believe that we are not going to be able to distinguish between human content and AI content. So that's going to be very disruptive on what is the edge, what is the limit between A and B, no?
And it's already true to some extent, but I think it's going to be really interesting because if you look at where the big research teams currently are pivoting, they seem to be pivoting much more to business tools like coding and much less towards training the video models even further. OpenAI has publicly moved away from Sora. Just recently, Claude, Anthropic don't do multimedia at all. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see where the investment goes, because we're in a place where there is not infinite compute. There is a real constraint on compute. And so there are actually going to be bets about which thing gets worked on. So I don't know. I actually don't know what's going to happen on that.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, another question, I believe, for everyone here is the intersection between technology, humans, AI, and how are we going to build? Because something that has been always very difficult on digital marketing has been data, metrics, analytics. So what do you think about AI, data, building models, reporting? Because the future is already here, no? Right now you have a lot of tools that will be able to do this. So this is a complete game changer. No? So what is your gut feeling? What is your belief? What is your thought about AI, analytics, building models around metrics are we going, because you were talking before, the example of you are in a board meeting and you want the data and you are talking with your assistant or your AI assistant and saying, hey, send me whatever. No, this is a game changer, totally. So, because if I have to say something as a heavy investor on data marketing, I would say that my priority number one will be to build an AI tool that gives me 100% of the most accurate information or the most accurate analytic system that I can obtain in order to make more decisions, no?
Well, and if you do it well, you feed the metrics back to the AI and you ask the AI to interpret them and give you 5 different things you can do to optimize it. Yeah, I mean, I come back to my thing on saying, how does a company get ready for AI? If you are going to have a modern data lake, as everyone took to calling this, or just data warehouse, as we used to call it, you need to have YAML files set up against each of your tables. So you need to be in a place where there is a markup file against each table in your database that is human and machine readable that says what the table contains. So the marketing data warehouse needs that. If that is the case, it doesn't matter if you use Claude Code or you use open code with, let's say, Gemma 4, or you use Codex, or hopefully in the future you use an API from us with one of these great harnesses. Open code is an open source harness that competes with Claude Code, and then OpenClaw, Hermes, these are equivalents that are slightly more consumer-friendly harnesses. It seems weird to say consumer-friendly when it requires as much coding as it does. They will all be able to orchestrate agents if those agents have files that they can read that describe your system. If they don't, they won't. And so to do what I think is going to happen is you are going to have data warehouses that have this great markup against it, and then instead of dashboards, you are going to have on-the-fly data questions being answered. You're going to have daily email. I mean, I've already got this. Emails in your inbox with what happened yesterday that are interpreted by the AI, and the AI is actually telling you in human language, here are the key things you need to understand based on those context files you are providing it.
Yeah, super. Alex, let me step back 1 second and go back to Meta, Facebook, where you're coming from. And so Facebook, then you acquire WhatsApp, then Instagram. How are you integrating all that ecosystem again? No? So let's have a word on WhatsApp. So I think it's the most used. Everyone here uses
It's the most
WhatsApp.
used on earth. It's the single biggest one of our products, on a daily basis.
So how do you believe WhatsApp is going to evolve? Right now you are not monetizing your investment, but except that you have millions of users. Maybe I'm wrong, of course. So let me know. So let's talk about WhatsApp, because it's one of the most business models to understand right now for the general audience.
So we monetize WhatsApp in 2 ways today, and they're both very meaningful, in the tune of billions of dollars. One of them is click to WhatsApp ads, which couldn't really exist unless we were one company, and are very successful, just not in the rich Western world. They're actually very successful in Asia and Latin America. The second one is business messaging, where businesses pay us to send messages to consumers through WhatsApp at scale, which is important for things like utility for banks, to get you back into your bank account, but also for marketing messages for apparel and businesses like that. The future, however, I think is really interesting and exciting, which is universal business AI agents, which we announced a couple of years ago, and we are scaling up right now. The idea of these is, in a lot of Asia, you're seeing conversational commerce be huge. Actually, just on today's earnings call or announcement, the Snapchat CEO, Evan, was talking about conversational commerce, and they know a thing or two about copying stuff from Asia. And, so many elements of social media have started first in Asia. There was Kakao Story before Snapchat Story. There was Happy Farm before there was Farmville. WeChat was the super app before anything else was the super app, and I can continue. Conversational commerce is working in these parts of the world, and a large chunk of it is because GDP per capita is low, and it's actually affordable to have people answer the messages. If you're in a place where you have a universal business AI agent that can answer messages for you for pennies on the dollar, because of great inference and great models, and it can actually help you do maybe 90% of your customer inquiries. Opening up a conversational channel on WhatsApp through which you sell to individuals and answer their questions perfectly is going to be a huge opportunity. And so of the places that we're invested right now, business AI, universal business AI agents, and paid messaging is the really, really big bet that we're making, and we're pretty excited about it based on early results and just how fast these AI agents are advancing.
Totally. Plus, maybe I think I would add, if we can pay through WhatsApp, then we are always then we'll be always on the phone, which is a bad thing. But WhatsApp, imagine.
Not if you're using the glasses.
That's another thing. No, hold on.
Your head's up, phone's in the pocket.
Hold on the glasses, because I'm going to talk, because we are always talking about success. But let's try to talk not always about success, even on Meta. So, except for you, you are the only person that I know that uses the glasses, which is great. But
we haven't even made that many. That's we're selling what we make.
I think in Spain they're not very popular now, not at all in the world. So, what do you say about? I mean, you invested a lot of money on the glasses and VR, etc. And I believe that we were not ready, potentially as human beings, maybe to adapt these technologies too soon, or.
And was the technology fully ready? Like, you bet early on things.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think the glasses, we are trying hardware, and it's hard for companies to get into new verticals, and so we're trying hardware. I would actually say, like, we've had a breakout success with the glasses, where we really are selling everything that we make. And so what I think is super exciting about these is this moment of AI has meant that they are more valuable than we expected them to be. So we thought you would get to the augmented reality future and the displays, overlaying, and the really hard thing would be the AI agent. If you go back to our video when we rebranded to Meta, like we showed you talking to an AI agent with an augmented reality overlay, but we thought the AI agent was going to be the really hard thing. And you look at how the world's moved on and how great the AI agents are. So suddenly these glasses are actually incredible for sensing what's around you. You look at a plant that I like gardening. I'm a very strange man. For my age, but I love my gardening, I love my archaeology. It's just, why am I doing digital? And I'll look at a plant and I'll say, hey Meta, what's that plant? And it will just tell me what the plant is by putting without a hand in a pocket, without anything. And so we've reached the point, I actually think, where the utility of having AI in your ear is so much more advanced than we thought it would be at this stage, that the glasses are great for taking phone calls and doing camera pictures when you want to have your hands holding your baby or whatever, but you want a picture of it, or all these things. But suddenly this AI stuff has become incredibly valuable on top of it, and it came way faster than we thought it was going to. So that's really what's going on right now, is actually the glasses have done way better than we expected. They were supposed to be more of the experiment, and the AI features have accelerated far faster than we expected. But you look at all the other AI companies, they are scrambling, Google, Apple, OpenAI, to launch things like this because there needs to be a form factor for this sort of experience. So we're feeling really good about where we've come.
And you think that if we add artificial intelligence to the glasses, that will take this to another level?
Yeah, and we already are seeing it. Like, we obviously understand what people are using these things for, and stuff like, hey, tell me what that flower is, that is AI right now. So it's working. It's actually working. And
there are maybe another uses like digital twins or many other uses on the sector. I mean,
well, and also imagine with these harnesses, if you were able to control your harness, whether it's Manus or Open Claw or whatever, if you could give it an instruction via the glasses, that's going to be amazing. So, hey, could you please go and research me tuxedos for my wedding? And then you come home and there's a full research document written up to you of all the places you could go for tux shopping. That saved me so much time.
Or for example, in my case, that I'm the worst handyman in the planet, I could fix things in my house, for example, just by having instructions on the...
When then you overlay the augmented reality, the display feature, and it can literally point to you at the thing that you're looking at that's broken. I mean, the future is clearly here. It's going to be hard to fully birth it, but the opportunity of like the experience that's going to come for that is just like so cool.
So maybe it was too soon for the glasses, and it will have another chance in the near future. A bigger chance or a more broader audience.
I rarely will disagree, like, because I'm quite happy to be self-critical in general, but like, I actually think the glasses, we just got it right. Like, maybe it's more luck than judgment, but it's the right time and the right product, and they really are selling very well.
Okay, then we will talk about a success story, not a failure anymore, but it's great, and I think that...
But I get your point, they're not selling in Spain, and I need to go back and understand where our stock is and why they are.
We need to add maybe a chapter of the book, no? Well, okay, another thing that I think is very interesting for the audience and digital marketing, everything around freemium models. This is opening, again, the Pandora box about freemium was not working, and now with AI and other tools, freemium, it seems like it's working again, SaaS. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think the really interesting thing, I think, in my world, in the world of digital marketing, is what happens with search. And I think there's a 2x2. And the 2x2 is it freemium or is it paid? Because I love my ChatGPT, and I pay for it. And I don't get any ads. And could it get to the point where you find the most valuable users are paying for these things, and so suddenly the ad-supported model doesn't look as good anymore? That would drastically change the world. And then the second one is the 2x2 of, is it Google or is it someone else? Now, 2 years ago, Google wasn't doing that great. Last year, they had an incredible year. So, you know, it could well be them that actually disrupts themselves. But in a world where social media has been disrupted 5 times in my 20 years doing social, whether you think about the coming of mobile, or the coming of messaging, or the coming of stories, or the coming of reels, or now, you know, AI, like, social has changed so many times. Search, and you get all the new names, right? Whether it's Instagram, whether it's Snapchat, whether it's like TikTok, whether it's YouTube, all in the last basically 20 years. In search, it's been sort of Google, Bing, Yahoo for the whole of the last 25 years, one way or another. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens on that 2x2. My bet is freemium. My bet is that you're still going to have an ad-supported tier, and then you will have people paying for using more tokens because inference will be limited. Token cost isn't going to go completely to zero, although it's down 100x in 2 years. So my guess is you'll have freemium. I don't know what that does to the business, though, because, like, are you taking out the most valuable customers by having them pay? I actually think it's a really interesting question. I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay, Alex, now that we have been talking for 70 minutes and we know each other well and no one is listening, can you tell us...
It's not recorded at all.
It's not recorded at all. So can you share this...
He asked in the front row just texting saying, he said this wrong, he said that wrong.
But the secret formula, okay, the Coca-Cola secret formula, okay, how does the algorithm work?
I mean, the algorithm is not a black box, really. It's just it's a series of experiments. It's a series of experiments. I mean, mostly, like, what we're trying to do with the algorithm is we're trying to show you stuff you like. And so one of the things that people think we do with the algorithm is we just use time and comments and likes.
Which is for facts.
Which are definitely in there. But actually, one of the key factors in the algorithm is that we also survey users and say, did you feel good about this? And we also do longer-term holdouts, and not just short-term, what made the number go up in sort of a day, but what went up over a longer period. And so fundamentally, it's just, here's a lot of content, here's what we know about the content, here's a lot of users, here's what we know about those users, how do we match? In a pretty simple matching algorithm, just run at a very large scale. And the objective function is a mix of comments, likes. We use this metric called capped sessions, so we don't actually like people having like massive amounts of time in a given day. It doesn't add very much, it doesn't add any value to us, because by the time you've seen the 100th ad we can serve you, no one's clicking on the ad, it's not making us any money. So what we really focus on is a cap of sessions, and then we actually ask people surveys and say, how did you feel about this? So it's a mix of those metrics. It's not some unbounded maximization metric.
And going back to the 3 big products that you do have, WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, of course, the growth is coming from I'm not a heavy social user, okay? So I don't really...
Oh, no. You use WhatsApp a lot?
A lot.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's my platform. But what is right now the mix? Where are people spending time right now? Is Instagram the new super big thing, and videos and content.
Actually, it's one of those classic things, like, reports of my death have been much exaggerated. Facebook is still
alive.
Facebook is the heavy hitter. It is the single most important thing for revenue. It's the single most important thing for engagement.
It's great to hear it.
Yeah. It is actually really interesting because I do get asked this question a lot.
All the time,
like, I'm sitting and looking at the numbers. Facebook's the biggest thing by far. Now, WhatsApp, in terms of daily and like number of message sends, like WhatsApp stands alone. But Facebook, in terms of like, feed-based, is way ahead of Instagram still.
In what percentage do you think that it makes?
You see, that is a number that I can't disclose.
But I'm sure that is public.
It's not. It's definitely not.
No?
I literally am responsible for every external
I'll ask
metric.
ChatGPT tonight. No?
It'll get it wrong. I guarantee that one it'll get it wrong.
Okay, let's try to talk a little bit more about AI, because this is the near future. I think it's one of the most exponential emerging technologies, and as you said, it came from one day to the other, even that we have been talking about AI 20 years. For whatever reason that we don't know, popped up, it's here, we are all using it, it's going to transform everything. Workforce, AI, how do you believe this is going to affect? There's going to be a doomsday, everyone is going to lose their jobs, we are going to create. What's going on AI?
Well, you will have seen in my presentation, I am not Max Doom. I am definitely more positive. I'm not going to sit here and say there will be absolutely no problems. I'm a realist. Like there will definitely be things we have to work through, full stop, end of story. However, I'm actually really hopeful that AI is going to give us the classic Jevons paradox, which is you create this new technology that makes things more efficient, and somehow more jobs in that thing that got more efficient are created, or more jobs overall. The best example is one that's already been predicted as going away and didn't, and that is radiologists. Right? Very famously, Geoffrey Hinton, who's obviously a genius, like there's no part of me that thinks that I can even hold a candle to that man's brain, said that 10 years from now, radiology won't be a field because AI will have solved it about 10 years ago. Radiology is bigger than it ever has been. There are more radiologists than there has been, and there's more of a shortage of radiologists, and it's so important for people's health. And last time I had a radiology appointment, without going into details, they showed me the screen that they were looking at, and it had AI all over it. And it was saying, you should look at this, you should look at that, there's a 90% chance here, there's a 1% chance there on the screen. And so these radiologists have been given superpowers by AI. And actually, at the moment, what it's looking like is radiology has totally followed that classic Jevons paradox, which is it's way more efficient because of AI right now. There's a load of places where you would be malfeasant if you weren't using AI in the job, but there's more of that job than there ever has been. So I think that's one, is like there's definitely that. A second one that's important is completely new jobs are going to be created.
That's for sure. Yep.
So data labelers for AI, which sounds, by the way, like a terrible job, right? You're just sitting there clicking buttons. Actually, now we're getting to the point where the AI needs more advanced, more clever data. It needs more interactions, and it's actually intellectually challenging to be training the AI at this point. And so it's really interesting. Evaluators for AI, did it get it right? But did it get it right on a complex question, not on simple questions? Like prompt engineers, context engineers, none of these things existed 5 years ago as jobs. And so these entire new fields of jobs are being created. So I do think some jobs will be disrupted. I think mine is being disrupted. I think data science, data engineering are going to be materially changed by this. And then the last thing I'd say is there's a ton of jobs that right now, every company would benefit pretty much from having a software engineer.
Yeah.
Like pretty much. They don't need to take off the rack software. They could customize it. You know what I mean? But it just isn't viable for every company to employ a top-level computer scientist.
Absolutely.
Now, with Claude, with OpenAI, and hopefully at some point with our model, like Muse, you can get expert-level computer science with actually someone who just understands how to use the models. And so I think a ton of stuff that wasn't viable is suddenly going to be viable as well. So maybe in big tech we get massively more efficient in some way with engineering or data science or data engineering. But in the economy at large, the job numbers for data science and data engineering I think are going to go up because things that were never viable become viable. So It's going to be bumpy. It's not all going to be fun, and I'm not going to claim it is. But I am actually cautiously optimistic that it's going to be good and that more jobs will be created and that the growth will be good and will look much more like radiologists than the doom that was predicted by Geoffrey Hinton for radiologists.
I have exactly the same opinion because so far data and the facts are that we are increasing our productivity. So we are more productive, economy is still expanding. So far the results around AI are very positive. I'm very optimistic we'll see in 10 years from now, but I think that this particular technology is very useful for human beings. That's what we have.
Yep.
Then I don't want to talk, I'm an entrepreneur, so I need to be optimistic by nature.
That is the nature.
So.
But I don't think either of us are also panacea people. Good things can be used for bad.
Correct.
It's not like it just helps good entrepreneurs. It can hurt, and good countries and good leaders, it can help bad ones.
But Alex, has all the other technologies that we have invented before.
And I think we will
Internet.
manage it that way too.
Correct.
But that's my opinion.
Thank you very much, and on behalf of the Fundación Rafael del Pino,
I'm honored.
congratulations, and
Thank you.
very much. No,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Alex.